Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you get financial independence, quit that job, that just overbroke job, by investing in real estate so you never ever have to work a job again. And today we are going to be looking at how we can go from buying a vacant piece of land, turning it into a $2 million storage facility, and how you can do it as well. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
Hey, what's going on? Super blessed as always to have you here with me on the show. And I absolutely need to say this. I believe I have the best listeners of any podcast, where I just love you guys, number one. Number two, it's so great having you listen to the show. Now, I, on Instagram, got a DM. So I actually have been getting a little more into social media because I just find I get to connect with more people. You guys know that about me. I love connecting with people. I love meeting people. That's why my podcast, I get to meet a lot of people. That's why I created the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, because I get to bring all of my friends together and have a big party and then invite all of you. So you need to come to RubeCon. Now, on Instagram, and if you guys want to find me on Instagram, it's the Dustin Heiner, THE, Dustin Heiner. No, I'm not that arrogant. It's the only handle I could come up with. Everything else was taken. And recently, I got a DM from Juan. Juan was on my show a couple months ago, where he just listened to the podcast and invested in real estate. And he sent me a quick message. He sent me a screenshot of the money he's making from his properties. And he says, "This doesn't feel real. My first rents came in." So excited, obviously, lots of exclamation points. "I'm so thankful for your podcast," he goes on, "your podcast and content. This does not feel real at all. Getting property number 4 soon." Now, this is not like a one-off case, like a random person being able to do this. No, so many people are able to do this when you know how to do it, when you have a community around you, when you have somebody showing you what to do. That's why I want you to continually come back to the show and listen to every single week, because my goal is to help you to invest in real estate. Now, my bigger overarching goal is to help 1 million people to become financially independent by investing in real estate. But to help you, that is my goal. If you reach out to me on Instagram, the Dustin Heiner. Actually, I'm on Twitter too. I've been actually doing a little bit of tweeting. I think that's what you call it. But I've been doing some Twitter stuff too. And Dustin Heiner, just look up Dustin Heiner on there. I actually got that one, which was super cool. With that, I love when people connect with me and they tell me about their real estate investing. And it gives me encouragement to keep putting out content like this, because I see you getting success. Now, if you listen to my last episode that I just put out last week, where I talked about the 4 legacies that you need in your life, I talked about the service legacy, and I get so fulfilled when that's right, you listening to this, when you buy your first property or your 10th property, or you get financial independence and can scale to quit your job, when you actually get what you wanted to achieve, like your goal, that makes me fulfilled. That makes me feel like, my goodness, I can go on another 10 years doing this because I'm helping you, another living human being, to actually get what you want. So I really, really appreciate you. So yeah, reach out to me on Instagram, the Dustin Heiner, and Twitter, Dustin Heiner on there as well. But if you look at Master Passive Income, more than likely you're going to find me. But I am so blessed to have so many great friends. And today I'm bringing on a really good friend of mine. We've hung out lots of times together. We go to conferences together. That's why I created my conference, because I'm a big believer that if you get around the right people who believe in the things that you believe, that are helpful, that have spent money to get there, they are fully bought into what they are doing, and they're going to be around you. So I'm bringing on my friend who has taken a property. It was vacant land, literally a bunch of trees, wasn't graded, nothing, turned it into a $2 million business, a $2 million valued storage facility, literally from scratch. He also documented everything on his YouTube channel, which we'll get into in a little bit. But he's a phenomenal guy. He has helped so many people to invest in real estate. Really good friend of mine. He's actually going to be speaking at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. You need to be here. Like, it's this year, and it's an annual conference. Every year it's going to change. This year it's in St. Louis, March 14th through the 16th. and use the promo code MPI20. That will give you 20% off of your pass to be here with me, as well as literally 40 plus of my amazing friends. Like, they're super genuine, amazing people, but then they're also amazing real estate investors, going to help you how to invest. We're not pitching anything, literally just to be there for you, and also hundreds of other real estate investors. You need to be with us. Now, let's jump into today's show where I interview my good friend who is a fantastic real estate investor, amazing podcaster as well, YouTube channel, all this stuff for retipster.com, his company where he helps people just like I do, how to invest in real estate. Let's bring on my good friend, Seth Williams, who's going to show us how we can actively take land to make it into a $2 million self-storage facility. All right, here we go. Seth, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Hey, Dustin. Great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Man, this is great having you on again. So, man, I think you've been on 3 or 4 times now. So
Yeah.
it's so good, catching up, number one, but also seeing how you're investing and how your students are investing. So if anybody wants to go and listen to the past episodes that you talk about your story and everything, I'll probably forget to put it in the description, but you'll be able to find Seth's episode in there. Hopefully I'll remember to put it in the description. But definitely Seth is a good guy and helps so many people to invest in real estate and land investing. And recently, Seth, I want to talk about how you bought a piece of land and then said this could be a very, like, literally from land, from trees and dirt and all that stuff, said this could be a storage facility.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's brilliant. And on your YouTube channel, definitely, everybody needs to check this out. On the Ari Tipster YouTube channel, he literally documents it in like 6 different episodes, so detailed from beginning to end, infrastructure to building. But Seth, this seems like a monumental task, especially one that you've never done before. I mean, what are your thoughts about this? And like, now that you're done, what are your overall thoughts about doing this project?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've actually been working on putting together my presentation that I'll be doing at Vacant, where I'm going to be talking about this. And man, there were so many lessons I learned from it. And it was really kind of an adventure. And it's kind of fun to look back at everything I went through to make this happen and what information I used to make the decision to build it in the first place. And then like how the market changed while I was building it and what the world looked like when I was finished. And one thing that I keep coming back to as I'm realizing the lessons learned is how kind of risky it is to build stuff, especially something like this where it just takes time. And not only does it take time and the market can change during that time, but also it's expensive. It's a lot of money to build something brand new from scratch, as opposed to just buying an existing version of that might be a little bit older. And back when I chose to do this, it was because I was kind of looking for something new, something to kind of branch out into, something to create some permanent sources of income, whereas land typically isn't that. Usually it's more of a flipping scenario. But, for me, I thought self-storage was going to be the ticket. And I had spent a couple of years learning about it and found a piece of land that I could buy, and it was zoned residential. So my plan was to rezone it to commercial and then go through all the steps necessary to get the thing built. And there's a lot of steps, lots of different opportunities for things to kind of go sideways and, surprises to enter the picture. But, also being like a blogger and YouTuber like you, I knew this is a great opportunity to document this and like learn a ton of stuff, because I didn't see anything else out there on the internet in terms of somebody who had done precisely what I was hoping to do, like really showing every step of the way and highlighting things that, I learned in that process. So yeah, it was quite an adventure. It took from the day that I bought the land to the day that we opened for business. It was over 2 years. Finding all the different people to put the plans together and getting the zoning approvals done and getting all the different contractors involved. There's a lot to it. Have you ever built anything?
I remember when you bought it and you tell me about it, and you were literally just getting started and all the planning and everything. And I was like, man, and you were also telling me the timeline. I was like, oh man, that's going to take a long time before you see any money coming in. But I mean, the biggest thing, you're going to, in my opinion, it just seems like the people that take the risk for it, they have the most reward, because it's a big risk. And if it plays out like you hope it's going to do, you're going to have the most reward with that. Now, I love those. So definitely, without going into all the details, but the entire process, because they definitely need to check out those videos. They're so well done. Like, it's so educational. And you literally see, like, you documented the entire process, which was so fantastic. And I'm glad you mentioned that. So everybody, Seth is going to be speaking at RubeCon, the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference here coming up. And it's our annual conference that we're having. Seth's going to be talking about everything he did, storage facilities, everything he learned. But at the same time, he's an amazing land investor. So you got to come to RubeCon to be a part of that. So check the link in the description. We'll actually give you a really good discount for coming to RubeCon. So Seth, in the storage facility, it's a totally different asset class than land. Obviously, you're utilizing the land, but it's a totally different asset class. What was the big, like, aha takeaway moment or something like that, that maybe once you're all done, I mean, outside the time frame and the cost, is there anything else that maybe in your brain that said, this was such a huge lesson learned?
Yeah, man, there's so many of those things. Trying to think of which one is worth highlighting. I mean, honestly, like, if I could rewind the clock, or I guess if I was making the decision today, whether or not I should build new or buy an existing one, I probably wouldn't build new at this point, because the market has slowed down quite a bit for self-storage. Back when I made the decision to build, it was darn near impossible to find deals on self-storage. I mean, they were way overpriced. It was super inflated. It was a bubble that was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't know if I'd say it popped, but things have definitely slowed down starting in basically early 2023. As interest rates kind of went up, that affected how frequently people were moving around, which has a direct correlation to how often they need storage. So the demand for self-storage and also the value of storage facilities has gone down a bit, and people's motivation to sell has ticked up a bit. So I haven't actually tried to find a whole lot of existing deals in the past couple of months, but I'm pretty sure it'd be a lot easier now than it was back then. But back when I chose to build it, it was because it was an obvious sign. Like, you are not going to find anything that makes sense as an existing facility. You can build a brand new one and probably even screw it up and still make money on it. That's kind of how the picture looked back then. So yeah, just kind of, again, that's one of the inherent risks of building stuff, is that things change. And when you're actually ready to start making money, are people still going to need it the same way they did back when you started to build it? Maybe not as much.
That's a great point, because when you're thinking about, like, the economy, where things are for real estate, as well as the overall economy, we've literally been booming for a very long time. In fact, with 2020, even though you had that shutdown of everything, there was a dip, which we know that, because when you shut down the entire, globe, you're going to have a dip. But if you just kind of like breeze right through that, it's literally been booming for the last, 6-7 years. In fact, the last recession was back in 2008 to 2010, in that time frame. And normally we have recessions, we have corrections in the market, real estate and economy, every 6 to 8 years, 7 usually the average. But it's been since 2008 crash. It's literally been, what is that now? 15 years now?
Since then, a long time ago.
Yeah, all the printing of money. So we've only seen booming economies. And you know what's kind of fun? So you and I have been investing for a long time now, which is great, as well as we have also been coaching this for so long that we're seeing people coming out now coaching this stuff that have been investing for 6 months or a year. They're like, hey, I'm a guru. Come follow me. Come listen to me. I'm like, that's great. I mean, in a booming economy, everybody does great. But it's when you actually have a down economy that's when you really see who's actually has their stuff. But what are your thoughts about the economy now? Because that was really interesting. I love that you brought up the thought of, okay, now if I were to build this again, looking at the way the economy is now, especially with your experience, the storage facility maybe not doing that now. Not saying that's the wrong thing in general, but maybe doing it differently, whatever it might be. But what are your thoughts with the general economy and with your students that you currently have, that you coach as well? What are your thoughts about, what are they seeing and how are they being successful in the real estate market right now?
Yeah. Well, I think in any kind of deal like that, you want to build in some margin for error. Like, if things don't pan out the way that I think, all, perfect in the end, what if things are slower? What if I don't sell this for as much as I think I will? Is there any margin to protect me, or am I just screwed if that happens? And so with the self-storage facility, for example, a normal time frame for a new facility that's totally empty?
And I want to pause for a quick second and share that honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. Now, my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So 2 things I would ask from you. Number 1, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Just say, hey, check out Dustin and Master Passive Income. He really wants to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's number 1. Number 2, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL, to 33777. Rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it to quit your job. I'll literally get to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Obviously, it'll be in the description, but I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual normal everyday people own real estate that are good landlords, the better everybody's life gets.
A normal time frame for that to fill up is usually like 2 to 3 years. Like that's about what it's going to take. I had a feasibility study done that said that was going to happen in about 6 to 9 months, which is very, very fast. And that was one of the reasons why I was like, okay, let's build the thing. Now, in reality, it's looking more like it's going to be that 2 to 3 year time frame. So it's like, it's kind of a bummer, but like we kind of knew that's normal. So it's not like we're,
You're prepared.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a disaster. It's just
did you get your money back from that feasibility study?
Yeah, of course. I should. So that's like the storage front. But like, for example, on a land deal, I kind of worry about some land flippers I see, just because, kind of like what you've said, all they've ever known is a booming economy where things are selling super fast. When I got into it, I kind of had the curse in the other direction, where for me, normal was property selling super slow. Land is not worth much. People don't want land. So you better be buying that thing at like 10% of market value, or you're not going to be able to sell it. So in my mind, that was normal, but that has not been normal over the past 3 to 5 years. So, I see people out there, trying to do a land flip and paying 60, 70, 80% of market value, which can work as long as things are going great and continuing to go up. But if all of a sudden there's a giant correction and things go backwards, it's not going to be a great position to be stuck in. So, admittedly, like, it's kind of a weird place to be when it's like the bottom might fall out, but it probably won't, but it might. I don't know. Like it's hard to know how far out on a limb you should go. But I personally, like I try to never offer more than 50% of a property's value. And that's even that. If you had told me that in 2008, I'd be like, that's crazy. That's way too much.
Well, same here. Like, we're investors. We don't invest to lose money, and we invest to make money. And when I buy a rental property, I don't overpay for properties. I don't pay for more than they're asking, let alone even asking price. And I know there are some people who are investing that they would pay over, because they said, hey, it's just going to appreciate in a year. It's going to go up 20%, 30%, whatever it might be, because that's all I've ever known. They haven't gone through the cycle where it's literally depreciating, or it's cutting in half. And so as an investor, we need to have all these principles in place. I love teaching all my students, just like you, principles on how to do this right in every economy. And I love my rental properties making me money. If the market goes up, the market goes down, or if the market goes sideways, I still make money. And the big reason why is because I know how to do it right, to where if there is a problem, I have a contingency of, okay, if this happens, then I have this buffer, or I had this, taken care of. I'm not investing for appreciation. All those sort of things come into my mind, because I have people asking me, well, Dustin, interest rates are high and prices are high. How do we invest? I'm like, that's a good thought. But at the same time, like, those are just, I guess, things that we have to contend with, or pieces to a puzzle that we have to figure out. It's not it's not the end all be all. It's not like everything's going to go bad. If it does, then we make sure that have everything in contingency. So with that said, what I'm doing right now with my students is really helping to see so many options that are out there. That's one of the biggest things I found for my students that helps them the most. Because if let's say, I'll give you one example. My goal was to quit my job, be successfully unemployed, but that's not everybody's goal. not everybody has the same risk tolerances, same
Mhm.
goals, same values, and same, finances and all that sort of stuff. What are you saying with your students right now in helping them to really grab these principles, make sure that they're doing it right, but at the same time, understanding their vision and their values and their goals for where they want to go and what they want to do when they're investing?
Yeah. I mean, that's huge what you just said in terms of understanding like what your own personal priorities are. It's I don't know, I kind of get a little annoyed sometimes when I just hear somebody saying like, this is the one way it needs to be. Like, do this or you're dumb. Just like very black and white, but it's like there's
So
just a
many
lot.
people say that stuff.
I
It's so
know.
dumb.
I
They're
know.
dumb for saying that.
But there's so many different variables to consider in terms of like you got to understand your final destination, your timeline to get there before we can really start planning out stops along the way and which path you want to take and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, in terms of just basic fundamentals, like I think one thing that it took me a long time to understand that I try to help other people get is sort of this idea that you make your money in your business and then you preserve it in the market, not the other way around. And what I mean by that is,
I love that.
I see a lot of people who try to, you know, say you've got like a job paying you $60,000 a year or something, and you immediately jump into buying long-term buy and hold rental properties. And I think that can work, but like if you don't have some huge advantage, like being able to buy those properties at a huge steep discount, or if you have some, market knowledge or some ability to make those properties worth a lot more after you buy them, if there's not something special you're bringing to the table, it's going to take you a long time to get to where you want to go. And so that's why, running a land flipping business, it's a beautiful thing in that it's kind of a cash generating machine. It's very active though. Like it is not a passive business at all. Like it's at very least a, pretty big part-time, if not full-time thing, but it pays really well. And for me, I mean, my goal was to start there, but not stay there. Like use that as a stepping stone to create those long-term passive sources of income. But if I jump right to that from my job, like I'd still be working my job today and I'd be a long ways off from getting to where I was trying to go.
Yeah, no, I definitely see exactly your point. And with that, I love that you've jumped asset classes. Talk to me about how you did that. Now, I'll give you an example. With me, I love residential, 4 units and below. It's so easy. It's like,
Yeah.
I fall asleep and do it. I've done it so many times myself and coached hundreds, just like you with all your students. So with that, that's like my bread and butter. But I gravitate to that so easily. But there's so many other great asset classes out there. You jumping into from land and building, that's a huge one. But then storage facilities, managing that, keeping that taken care of and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that shift. I mean, this is like advanced investing, really.
Yeah.
People that just want to get started, maybe they just want to flip land. Maybe they just want their first rental property, whatever it might be. I personally go from residential. Now I'm in hotels and other types of, multifamily asset classes, but I would love to get into residential assisted living. I'd love to do storage facilities, but I'm like, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah,
and with, Rubicon, there's so much time that goes into
I'm
Rubicon.
sure.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of time, but it's a labor of love. With that, I love investing with experts. Like I've told you before, hey Seth, next time you do your facility, if you need an investor on this one, I'll be there with you.
Yeah.
But with that, like, what are your thoughts about switching asset classes and then getting around the experts that are going to be there that are going to help you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's actually important to do it at some point. I mean, it's just kind of a fundamental diversifying your investments kind of thing. Like if all you ever own is land and the land market tanks or something happens to that, you're going to be hurting. You want to have your stuff spread out. Have some gold and silver over there, have some stocks and bonds, have this and that. But for me, I think, self-storage, it's not completely independent of land. I mean, there's definitely some correlations to that, but it's a very different kind of business. And the things that affect demand for self-storage are very different than the things that affect demand for land, for example. So yeah, I think it's just a smart business move long-term to get into something else, a number 2 and number 3 asset class. And I think the hard thing for me is that self-storage, it's not that difficult of a business to figure out, but it's still very different from land. And I had a lot of assumptions about how real estate works that were educated from my land career that were not true at all of self-storage. Like this idea of, buying properties for 30% of market value. I mean, that's hard to do even with land right now, but to do that with self-storage is a joke. Like, don't even talk about that. Like, you got to understand that the margins are thinner, but the income is permanent, and it's also very scalable. I mean,
but now I agree with scaling too. With that though, you have to manage it continually. Like land investing,
yeah,
you buy it and sell it, or you have it on a note where people pay you over time, get a more passive income out of that, which is great too. But now you're getting to an asset class where you actually have to manage it. Now,
yeah.
I'll lead into where I'm going. You actually start competitor, another storage facility said, "Hey, I see you build this. Let's partner together on it." Talk to me about that, because that's, I find the more people that I connect with, that number one, I have to enjoy being around them. I have to like trust them and all that sort of stuff. But if they're a great fit and then connecting with them, then we have like maybe economies of scales or a synergy, but like it works out so much better. We don't make 100% of the profit, but at the same time, we're not doing 100% of the work. So with that, talk to me about you now, instead of, you had been just, owner operator, I guess. And then now you have now changed it to where now you have somebody else helping you and the vision for doing that, because, I'm thinking, well, you're giving up your equity, you're giving up your property, but at the same time, you're not. But tell me about that. How'd that work out?
Yeah. So it's a great question. When I got into this, my intent was to own and operate this thing 100% by myself. Like, I didn't want any partners. I didn't want somebody else having their hands in the pot and that kind of thing. And that was really what I intended to do, knowing that the property management, it would take something like maybe 5 or 10 at the most hours a week. But that was something I could do. But it's probably like halfway through construction, this local competitor reached out. We got connected through a mutual friend, and he's like, "Hey, can I just like buy you out right now? Like, just buy it today, and I'll finish building it, and then And I was like, it's like, wow. I mean, I appreciate it, but like, I kind of want to try this. I don't want to just like run before I've even finished. Like, I want to, experience this a little bit and see if I actually like it or not." It's like, okay, what if we partnered with you? What if we came in and, me and my partners will own 25%. I'll manage it along with my other 2 facilities in the area. I've already got the whole team in place, the whole system, the website, all that stuff. And then you can own 75% and just kind of.
Let's make this year your best real estate investing year ever by coming to the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. And the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference is where you can join hundreds of real estate investors and over 40 expert investor speakers and learn how to have an amazing success in your real estate investing business. The Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference is not like any other conference out there. This is a no sales pitch conference where the entire 3 days event is all about you and helping you to meet expert investors, teaching you how to invest, and join a huge community of hundreds of like-minded real estate investors. And because you are a part of the Master Passive Income podcast, I'm giving you 20% off your Rubicon Pass. That's right. Get 20% off of your Rubicon Pass by using the promo code MPI20, MPI20. You need to be at the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. Join us in the heart of downtown St. Louis, March 14th through the 16th, for a transformative 3-day event that's more than just a conference. It's a community of investors. Get your pass. Go to rubicon.com, REWBCON.com, and use the promo code MPI20 to get 20% off of your Rubicon Pass.
Collect cash each month. And I was like, that actually sounds awesome.
It sounds amazing.
And honestly, like, I feel like this guy is a gift from God. Like, he's somebody that I needed, that I didn't know I needed when I got started. I mean, aside from just handling the management and all this stuff, he's got lots of great ideas. He's got ideas that I never would have had on my own. And like, as I look around and look at other opportunities, like, I don't even really want to buy anything else unless he's going to be involved with it. And this was a stranger, a year ago. And it's just, I don't know. And this is actually coming from somebody like, I'm kind of not a huge fan of partnering with people. I've done it a handful of times and it usually hasn't gone well. So I'm kind of a chip on my shoulder against it. But like, this just worked so well. Like, I don't even get, that's why I say it's got to be a God thing. I don't know why else this would happen so easily. It just worked. So I don't know if I'll always get that lucky in life, but it worked out really well here. And it's, I guess the lesson from it is just be willing to be flexible and change while the vehicle is still moving. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out. If something makes sense halfway through it, like, be willing to entertain that. So
I love the idea of being flexible, being able to I learned this term in college. So I was going to college business school. They said, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to tolerate ambiguity, which is
Mm.
basically a fancy way of saying be flexible, being able, like, you don't know exactly what's going to happen, be able to move and shift. And I found being a real estate investor, what it really comes down to is that we are problem solvers. There's a
Mm-hmm.
problem that comes in front of us. Let's say, oh man, this is too much work on my hands. You didn't get to this point, but just in general, let's say this management property is too much work on my hands. I need to figure out how to where it's not on my
Mm-hmm.
hands anymore, so that it's
Yeah.
somebody else's, but I still own it. And I love the idea that you were open to the possibility of just talking to somebody. You have no clue what's going to happen. That's
Yeah.
why whenever anybody suggests, "Hey, Dustin, you need to meet this person," usually I say, "Great, let's do it." I'll give them one meeting. Just, you never know what could
Mm-hmm.
happen. And I might be able to help them. They might be able to help me, whatever it might be. It might
Yeah.
be, this is an awesome person. I just like hanging out with that person.
Yeah.
I'll do it at least one time. Then if after that meeting, it doesn't, it's just not a right fit, then we can move on.
Yeah.
But being open and also being flexible, which is great. Now I am just like you, like it, I've had a couple partnerships in my lifetime, and usually it comes out where I'm doing almost 100% of the work, but then
Mhm.
I get literally half the profits
Yeah.
and I get 100% of the liability because
Oh,
they're
it's the
going to go
worst.
after both of us.
Mhm.
So with that, I never wanted to partner. Now, honestly, I don't think I will ever do a partnership like, let's say, hey, Seth, you and I, let's start a company. Let's build this company. No, I wouldn't do that. But if I did have something where I had a business where I had employees, well, you're kind of partnering, you're paying them in a
Mhm.
sense, but you could also fire them. But let's say in this case, a property that you had was making money, giving them ownership. So now they are going to be really adamant about making sure that it works out well.
Yeah.
And they have the opportunity to make sure that it's making money, taken care of on their end. With that, you are actually going to be able to profit very well. So
Mhm.
with that, I really appreciate it. Any other lessons that you've learned throughout this entire process?
On that whole partnering thing. So one other thing, back when I started this, I was talking to a couple different people about chipping in like 100 grand and just doing like a unsecured note where I would pay him back with interest and that kind of thing. And I had my attorney and my CPA review it, and both of them were like, "This isn't really that good of a deal. Like, if you need money, like I'll give you money. Like I got 100 grand I can give you right now." And something that kind of occurred to me and that they sort of told me is like, when you're borrowing money from these people, like it's not just about the money. Like make them bring some kind of expertise to the table. Like, are you going to bring tenants?
Yeah.
Are you going to manage it? Are you going to give me a discount on construction? Like partner with your general contractor, because then you can actually like get some kind of actual benefit instead of just money, like get a discount on stuff. And so this guy I'm partnering with, he's bringing a ton of value to the table, and it's not just money. It's he's managing the thing, and he actually knows what he's doing because he's doing this for other places too. So
That's a terrific point, because that
yeah,
honestly that gets me thinking of. So I like, my kids and I like watching the TV show Shark Tank,
yeah,
and the reason why we like it is because you get plenty of ideas, you see how
mhm,
businesses work and all that sort of stuff and valuations. But what
mhm,
you also see is that they get the money, but they're really not just going to Shark Tank for money. Money's going to be helpful in their business, but they're wanting the shark, or whoever the businessman or woman is in there, to actively do something for their business. So they're buying
mm,
in,
yeah,
and they're also getting
yeah,
return, and a lot of, like, honestly, the sharks say, you know what, I have the money, but this is so much time that I'm going to have to put in it. I don't have the time to do this, or I
mhm,
don't see the value in my time being here, so I'm not going to do that. So I love that thought. Now you have that. Now with that, is there, like, let's say RE tipster, being, you're coaching people in land. With that, is that something you would ever, is it just real estate? Because I'm thinking just real estate, that's the only thing I would ever really do, but who knows,
mhm.
I might be able to bring somebody on, let's say they're a really strategic partner. Any other lessons that you've learned through that process that might be in overall business?
Yeah, there probably are, but they're not coming to mind right now. I feel like I'd have to kind of get in a role and talk about like step by step everything that happened to kind of jog my memory. But
Yeah,
I think
no,
those are
I get
kind
it.
of the big ones.
Yeah, same here. Like for master passive income, it's just me and my wife.
Mhm.
It's just us. Who knows? Maybe RA Tipster gets a bigger than bigger pockets. That we all know that that's a big company. They
Probably not. They'll
sold,
say.
and yeah, they're a big company. But anyways, that's something that's like, I just like being, like, I quit my job, so I didn't have to have a big organization. I didn't have to answer to. I could literally have nothing on my schedule. all day and be extremely excited about, man, I don't have anything to do, because that's
Yeah.
why I quit my job.
Yeah.
So anything for you in your real estate investing that you're seeing right now that our listeners can take advantage of, meaning like, hey, interest rates, this is a tip that you can use, or how to invest in land, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I do think the demand for land is not going away anytime soon, as is the demand for housing. I've actually heard a number of people saying that if interest rates go down as we get closer to the presidential election, there's going to be a buying frenzy, because there's still a lot of pent up demand for housing, and with that goes land. So I wouldn't be afraid to buy stuff at this point. I don't think we're going to be crashing anytime soon. I mean, who knows if we do, egg on my face, but I think there's still plenty of good times ahead in terms of opportunity to buy land at a good price and make a good profit on it.
I totally agree with you, especially like you hit the nail on the head with the election coming up.
Yeah.
The incumbent, anytime, whoever it is, they never want the economy to go south, and they're the ones that control the Fed. In a sense, they're not technically doesn't control, but anyways, we're not going to get into all that. But we know that they don't want the economy to look bad, because then they're going to say, "Oh, the economy's bad." You know, the reform candidate would come in and say, "Hey, this economy's bad. Let's go ahead and go with me because I'm going to help." They're not going to want that. So I really don't think anything bad's going to happen for another, I'd say, at least until after the election. That's my opinion, because once the election's over, then they're elected in office. Okay, let's everything.
Yeah. It's actually, I'm really interested to hear what Marco Santarelli says this year about the whole state of the market update. I found his presentation last year so enlightening, just talking about, like, he really just made it clear, like, there's still a lot of pent up demand for housing with millennials that are still living with their parents and that kind of thing. And I'm interested to see what he's going to say about that this year.
And you know what's funny? So he came in 2022, our first year at RubeCon. Marco's a good friend of mine. And so I called him up and said, "Hey, Marco, I want you to come and speak." And he did the keynote where he literally laid out, like, you need to be investing now. Don't think it's going to stop and all that sort of stuff. And then 2023, exact same thing happened. I'm like, Marco, you sure be saying this? Because it seems like the economy's a crash, but it didn't. It's still going.
Yeah.
But I'm super looking forward to his talk, because everybody literally said, man, Marco's talk was just so eye-opening. The numbers, he is very analytical, and he knows all this stuff because he is all over the country investing. But here's the best thing for all of us, everybody listening, all your students, all my students, everybody listening. You do not wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and then you wait. Over time, it just goes up in value. It just goes, I mean, just inflation alone, let alone the market value itself. And if you do it right, and you're around gurus that are telling you how to do it wrong, then you might do it wrong. But if you're around people who are actually investors that are telling you, hey, this is the way to do it. Like, I started investing in 2006. 2008, the crash happened. I made more money because I was doing it the right way, which is in cash flow. So if you have the right people showing you how to do it, and you actually do it the right way, if the market goes up, down, or sideways, we're still going to make money. So, man, Seth, so anything else that you're seeing for the storage facility, because you're going to be talking about that and talking about land all the way to storage facility at RubeCon. Give us a little bit more about, like, what insights that from the land and even just the building process, anything else that we're going to be able to take away and want to come to RubeCon to listen to you and your talk.
Yeah. Well, I do think something that's been happening in the land flipping business over the past few years is it's getting more competitive. And kind of, as I mentioned earlier, like, people are paying higher and higher prices for vacant land, higher than I've ever thought was going to be possible. But part of the reason why they're able to do that and still make money on it is because they're not just doing nothing to the land. Like, they buy it and maybe they'll subdivide it, or maybe they'll improve it, or maybe they'll change the zoning. If they'll build a storage facility, like I did, something to make it worth a lot more than what they paid for it. It almost kind of turns into like a house flip situation, but on a larger scale, just with land and kind of a lot more paper, that kind of thing. But it's a skill that's very helpful to know, even if you don't use it all the time. Just understanding, like, there is an option here to take this vacant lot and make it worth a lot more if I'm willing to take a few extra steps. And it actually gets into like a different business model altogether from land flipping, because you're not just doing nothing anymore, and you are willing to pay more than you otherwise would. But still, it's useful to know that. And the self-storage facility, that's just one of many different plays you can do to make that happen. So
I think also not just that you have, they're improving the land. I just think in a booming economy, everything is going to go up, especially when there's such cheap money. back, before interest rates got to 6 and 7%. That's cheap money, which makes everything go up. So if people have more money in their pockets, they're like, I don't want to, but I'll go ahead and pay more. Like the loaf of bread, it's normally what, $1.50. Well, it's $2 now. Well, I don't really have to, but I have a little bit more money. Let me go ahead and pay for that. And so just as we have the economy, inflation going up, interest rates going up, it just seems like everybody's so bred into thinking it's always going to be rosy, which I'm not saying everything's going to be crashing tomorrow or even next year or two. I thought it was going to crash back in 2008. I was going to crash a long time ago, but it hasn't. And so what we look at is we just need to make sure we're doing it right from the very first time. When you buy that property, my suggestion is you're making passive income every single month if it's a single family home, residential. So you're making money every single month. If you're going to do land, you want to buy it for less than it's worth because you don't want to get stuck holding it at the highest dollar amount. And you're like, oh man, I wish I would have sold it or not bought that property.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
So cool, man. Seth, I want people to check out RE Tipster. You have a fantastic site. I mean, so much information. Like you think about like my site has a lot of information. Yours has so much more. But how can people reach out to you if they want to work with you, learn about land investing and connect with you? You have RE Tipster podcast. Everybody should check that out. But how else can people work out and connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook, probably most of anything, that and YouTube. So you can just search for RE Tipster, really on any social media platform, but Facebook and YouTube are kind of the ones where I spend most of my time. And or you can just go to the retipster.com, scroll to the bottom, and there's a little contact button, and you can click on that and send me an email that way too. So yeah, happy to talk to you.
Awesome, man. Hey, Seth, good hanging out with you again, buddy. And I'm looking forward to RubeCon this year.
Me too.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching. Get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.